Hey First Methodist,
we miss you.
We hope to see you soon.
Happy Sunday!
Good morning, First Methodist friends.
Can't wait to see y'all again. Be safe.
See you soon.
Good morning, First United Methodist. Stay connected with the light. Good morning from the Peacock family. I hope you have a good day.
Good morning, everyone.
We really miss y'all. Looking forward to getting back with you.
Hope to see y'all soon.
Good morning, First Methodist. We miss you.
Morning, church family. I hope y'all are staying safe.
We miss
during
you.
COVID-19. We miss you.
See you
Stay
soon,
safe.
hopefully. Bye.
Stay safe.
Good morning, First Methodist. We miss seeing you.
Hope to see you soon.
And stay safe.
Hey, church family. We miss you and can't wait to see you soon.
And happy Memorial Day, and thank you to all that have served and that are currently serving. See you soon.
Hey friends, I really miss doing this with you guys in person. Can't wait for us to get together again. But until then, we still need to confess our faith together. We need to sing our faith together. And so I encourage you, even though you're sitting at home in your living room or looking at your phone somewhere, whatever the case may be, try to engage, try to sing along, try to say the Apostles' Creed with us. Let's say the Lord's Prayer together. Let's join in, even though we're not all in the same room. Let's join in together as a church and confess our faith together today. So we're going to have a lot of things going on today. We are intentionally trying to give things for you guys to participate in. So please engage. Thanks for joining us.
Together, let us confess our Christian faith. I believe in God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, and in Jesus Christ, His only Son, our Lord, who was conceived by the Holy Spirit, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, dead, and buried. On the third day, He rose from the dead. He ascended into heaven and sits at the right hand of God, the Father Almighty. From there, He will come to judge the living and the dead. I believe in the Holy Spirit, the Holy Catholic Church, the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the body, and the life everlasting. Amen.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. 'Twas blind, but now I see. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace hath brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing His praise than when we first
Hey guys, welcome to the Kids Moment. I had already filmed this once and cut my head off the top, so here we go, round 2. I'm cleaning up the mess, but stick in there and you're gonna get to see what created this mess. I hope everybody's having a great day, and before we get into the Kids Moment, I want to just say, 1, happy Sunday, and 2, I have an announcement about Vacation Bible Camp. And so I know that everything has looked different and everything doesn't feel normal anymore, but I want to say that Vacation Bible Camp is still happening. So it may look a little different, it may feel a little different, but my hope is that when we go into this week of Vacation Bible Camp and we are getting to connect with God and focus on Him, that we still see His goodness and His love. And so while it's going to look a little different, that's okay, because different isn't bad. Different is just a new thing for us to learn. And so here we go. Get your parents to sign you up, and we're going to make Vacation Bible Camp the best it can be this year, and we're going to focus on God. So that's the theme, focus. I was supposed to have on some sunglasses, but I couldn't find them before the video. So here we are. Imagine me with sunglasses, you know? I'm just like jamming with my sunglasses. Anyway, today we are getting into this new sermon series talking about saying no to normal. And that sounds kind of weird, but really what we're saying is during all of this social distancing, a lot of people have said, I just want things to go back to normal. I don't like this new, I don't like what's happening, I just want them to go back to normal. And I think for a long time, we were working on autopilot. And so we didn't even realize that maybe normal wasn't that great. And so today I want to talk about so we've gotten out of our normal and our busyness and our schedules and go, go, go and do and homework and school and dance and soccer and tennis and all of the other crazy things that you kids are into. So we were going constantly. And during quarantine, it's like all of that has stopped. And it's okay that we miss it, but I think that we are given this opportunity to see maybe the normal that we were doing isn't great. And maybe social distancing isn't great, but we can learn things and work and figure out what goes together so that as we get into our new normal out of social distancing, that we are more intentional and we're more purposeful and we are choosing what is most important to focus on. And so today, Pastor Ricky, he's going to talk about some different things, and he's going to talk about how we're going to say no to the normal being busyness. And I'm sure that all of y'all know what it feels like to be exhausted at the end of the day because you are just so busy. And even on Sundays when you were going to church, after that you're probably doing homework, you're running and doing practices, you're doing this, you're doing grocery shopping, you're just going. There's no time to just breathe. And then social distancing happened and it's like there's too much time to breathe. But there's some goodness and some grace in that. And so something I want to encourage you is as we leave this current social distancing normal and get back to a different type of normal and a different type of life, I want to encourage you to focus on Sabbath. Now, it took me a long time to figure out what it means to Sabbath, and I'm still figuring it out. It's okay. None of the adults really know what's going on either. It's okay. Y'all, so don't even think we have it all together because we definitely don't. But I am learning that Sabbath is more than just going to church on Sunday. Sabbath is a time that I get to connect with God and be more in tune with Him and more in tune with myself and getting to know myself more because I know God more and He created me. And so today I want to talk about Sabbath in the sense of how it impacts our week. So if this is your week, this little bowl, this is your week. Instead of us just dumping our energy and then it's constantly pouring out and we feel exhausted, what Sabbath was created to do is to start our week. And so if this is Sabbath, it's right here, and we are resting, we're pouring our energy into rest on the Sabbath, we're pouring our energy into God and connecting with Him and knowing Him, we're pouring our energy into our family and getting grounded and connected with our family, and you see it overflowing and filling up the week so that you have energy. Well, that's the whole point of Sabbath. Sabbath is about connecting with God in a large quantity and focusing on Him for that one day so that as you continue to focus throughout the week and pour in little bits throughout the week, you are still being energized by this grounding that you did at the beginning of the week. And so I want to encourage you this week to think of things that fill you up. Maybe it's going on a walk with your family. Maybe it's Zooming with one of your friends. Maybe it's reading your Bible or praying. Maybe it's taking a nap and just breathing for a little bit. There are lots of things that can fill us up. And God created us all to be these unique creatures and these unique people. And so different things fill up different people. And that's beautiful. It's awesome because we're not all the exact same. And so I want to encourage you to think of what can fill you up this week with God and what can fill you up and encourage you and give you energy so that you can do the rest of your week. And as we move out of social distancing and quarantine, remember this and remember that how great it felt to be filled up with God first and how that gave us the energy to keep going. It wasn't just us pushing ourselves, but we were being pushed and encouraged on by God. So I want to encourage you in that this week, and I want to encourage you to sign up for Vacation Bible Camp this week, and I cannot wait to see you guys again soon. So I'm going to say a quick little prayer, and then we're going to head on to the service. So here we go. Hey God, thank you for today, and thank you for creating a space for us to breathe. Social distancing has been weird. It's been confusing. It's maybe been frustrating and hard, but help us to see the goodness of the space you've created for us to focus on you, and help us to use that space to focus on you. Give us guidance and help us to see what it means to Sabbath and to connect with you so that we are filled up as we keep going throughout the week and throughout the year. We love you so much, and it's in your name we pray. Amen. All right, so now I'm going to clean up. Well, this is how I made the mess the first time, in case anybody was wondering. So, anyway, got to clean up so I don't just leave a mess for the rest of the day. Oh, that was better. I'm getting better at that. Anyway, I hope y'all have a great rest of the day. Don't go dump water all over your mom's counters, but it's a cool exercise and it's fun. And it's a fun way to get to remember the difference, or to remember the purpose of what Sabbath is. So everybody have a great rest of the week. Have a good Sabbath, and I will talk to you again soon. All right, bye.
Would you join me in the Lord's Prayer? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship his holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul. I'll worship your holy name. The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing when the evening bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship his holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul. promise I will keep on singing. 10,000 reasons for my heart to find. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul. I'll worship your holy name. And on that day when my strength is failing, the end draws near and my time has come, still my soul will sing your praise unending. 10,000 years and then forevermore. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul. I'll worship your holy name. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul. I'll worship your holy name. I'll worship your holy name. Lord, I'll worship your holy name.
I'm normally a busy person. I have a schedule and a calendar that's just full, mostly good things. Work, meetings, church. It's also full of things like my kids' activities, baseball, basketball, ballet for my daughter. My wife works, and so her schedule is full of meetings and full of other activities. We both volunteer in a variety of places, and so our schedule's full of all those other things that we do that we love, but fill up our time. We're busy people. And in fact, we're so busy that we often have to schedule meetings for me and my wife so that we can plan our calendar. And if we don't put our meeting on the calendar, our life just goes haywire. And I want to be honest with you. I love it. I love being busy. I love the feeling of having things to do. I love the feeling of saying yes to people when they want to have an early morning breakfast meeting. I love the feeling of going to eat with a friend who stopped into town, and although I didn't have room for it on my schedule, we go out to lunch for 3 hours. I love being able to be at my kids' activities at night and to go to baseball practices and games and to watch them have fun and enjoy life. I love it. I love being busy. But I have another confession. It is exhausting. In fact, I'm just tired of being so busy. And I think the world feels this way. In fact, we all celebrate our busyness as a badge of honor. If you look on Facebook or Instagram, you see people posting pictures of all their activities, and it's a way of saying, look how busy I am, look how much fun we're having, look how much activities my kids are in, look at all of our life built around all of these activities, look at how wonderful it is. But all of us know behind those pictures are parents and kids that are exhausted and stressed out. Because all of these activities are fun, but they're all draining on us. Because busy is normal. Because we think that if we are busy, we are successful. We are important. We are needed. And because busy is normal, none of us seem to want to pause and think, maybe we were not made to be so busy. Now, all of us got a big wake-up call over these past few months when the world stopped. When we were all sent home. All of our activities were canceled. Many of us were sent home from even our jobs and told to work from home or told that we don't have a job right now. All of our spring events and activities that had us double booked and running across town back and forth, all of that went away almost in an instant. And our life of busyness stopped. Now, I think that we have an opportunity to not so quickly go back to this busy is normal kind of life. Because remember how exhausting busy was. I have a theologian that I read from time to time, and I've only ever read one book that he wrote. He wrote many books. He's a professor at Asbury Theological Seminary. His name is Wayne Muller. But one particular book that he wrote that I've read over and over is a book called Sabbath. And he writes this, and I want to read a section from that book, and I want to see if this resonates with you at all. Listen to this. He writes, "We meet dozens of people, and we have so many conversations. We do not feel how much energy we spend on each activity because we imagine we will always have more energy at our disposal. This one little conversation, this one extra phone call, this one quick meeting, what can it cost? But it does cost. It drains yet another drop of our life. And then at the end of days, weeks, months, and years, we collapse, we burn out, and we can't quite see where it happened. It happened in 1,000 unconscious events and tasks and responsibilities that seemed easy and harmless on the surface, but that each, one after the other, used up a small portion of our precious life." Busyness can be exhausting. And in this time of pandemic and quarantine and staying at home, maybe you've gotten a glimpse of what life might be like if we were less busy. How much more energy we might have if it wasn't drained by all these really good things, but that all piled together drains all of our energy and life away. Maybe in this time of isolation, you've spent more time with your family, more time with your spouse, more time by yourself than you've had in years. Maybe you've slept in a little bit more. Maybe you've gone on longer walks. Maybe you have enjoyed this rhythm of life, and part of you may be dreading going back to normal and filling that calendar back with all of those activities. And if you felt that tension, if you have felt that longing between the busyness that your life used to be, the way that your life is now, and that tension between getting back to normal, then maybe what you've really been feeling is a little piece of how God has made each of us. A desire for Sabbath. I want to read from Deuteronomy chapter 5, in which Moses is outlining a retelling of the Ten Commandments. And so in Exodus, we get the Ten Commandments, and then there's a reiteration of them, so to speak, a telling again of them in Deuteronomy, right before the people are about to enter the Promised Land. And in this chapter, we get a reminder of the commandment to observe Sabbath. Listen to this. Observe the Sabbath day and keep it holy, as the Lord your God commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. You shall not do any work, you or your son or your daughter, or your male or female servants, or your ox or your donkey or any of your livestock, or the immigrant in your town, so that your male and female servant may rest as well as you. Remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God brought you out from there with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. Therefore, the Lord your God commands you to keep the Sabbath day. Keeping a Sabbath day, one whole day without any work. This was a hallmark of the Jewish identity. The people of Israel understood themselves to be commanded into this rhythm of life in which they would work for 6 days and then do absolutely nothing for one whole day. And what's interesting is this command extends out of the original covenant in Exodus, the original covenant, as the people are fleeing from Egypt and they come to the covenant and they are commanded to do this. And as they wander in the wilderness, they continue to keep Sabbath. And after 40 years, right before they're about to enter the Promised Land, God reminds them about the need to keep this Sabbath day, to do no work. And there are actually two reasons given. In Exodus, when the command is first given, they're told, remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy because God rested on the seventh day of creation. That God created all things in 6 days, and on the seventh day God rested. Therefore you shall rest. And then in Deuteronomy, there's an addition to that, where God says, this will also be an opportunity for you to remember when you were a slave in Egypt, and you did not have the freedom to rest. But now you are free to rest. And so the Sabbath had this dual meaning, this dual importance to remember the power of God's creation and how all of our life is a gift of God and how all that we have we need to depend upon God for, the Creator of the universe. And so we rest in recognition of His sovereignty and of His creation. And we rest to remember a significant part of our story, of how when we found ourselves in bondage, God delivered us to freedom. So rest, stop, do nothing. Refrain from the busyness of life. Keep a Sabbath. Now, one of the interesting things is this made the Jewish people kind of stand out in the pagan world. You see, back in Bible times, there was no weekend. Everybody worked every day, from sunup to sundown, every day of the week, except the Jews. This odd little religious community stopped working one whole day of the week, gave up the productivity, gave up all of the things they could do to get ahead for the next week. They had the audacity to leave work, go home, and be with their family. So it made them stand out. It made them odd. It made them, and remember, friends, this is my favorite theological word ever, it made them weird. It was weird not to work. I kind of think it's the same way now. It's weird not to be busy. It's weird not to have your entire calendar full of activities. It's weird not to get up early to do extra work that you didn't get done yesterday, to get your kids wherever they need to be, to get to work on time, to work a full day, then to stay late, take work home, work all night, go and volunteer and be involved in all this life. It's weird if you don't do that, because we are designed, we think, to be busy, but the reality of it is God has made us to be people of the Sabbath. Now, it's also important to understand what Sabbath is not. So, Sabbath is not a time to catch up on errands, a time to get all the things done at your home that you haven't been able to do. The Jews were prohibited from any activity, any kind of sense of work, even if it was masquerading under the guise of things like chores or working around the house. Now, what's important to understand this is in a different culture and world, there wasn't a lot of other things for people to do. But Sabbath was commanded to get away out of the work and routine and that stress of having to be productive. Rather, instead, it was to focus on other things, focus on spiritual things, focus on a life that will be lived beyond the work of the present age. What's interesting is if you look at what specific acts were prohibited, the Old Testament lists 39 specific actions that you should not do on the Sabbath. Most notably are these. You should not sow in your garden, plow your field, reap, thresh, winnow, grind, sift, knead, bake, spin, weave, hunt, slaughter, build, hammer, or transport anything. That seems like a pretty odd list. But what's fascinating is if you flip back over to Leviticus and you look at the section in the book of Leviticus where God is commanding the people to build the temple, the actions that He lists for them to do are these same things. To build the temple, you need to do these 39 things. But on the Sabbath day, don't do any of them. Another way to look at that is God is saying, you are my people. And it's so important for you to rest that it's not even necessary for you to work on building my temple that day. Stop that. As modern Christians, we've come to associate Sabbath with Sunday. And there's a lot of good history around that, and don't worry, this sermon is not about that. But Sundays, and this is just me, because I'm a professional Christian, Sundays can be some of the busiest and most stressful days. Trying to get kids dressed, trying to get people fed, trying to get to church, not so late that it's obvious that we're late. Trying to understand everything that's going on, and then thinking about all the other stuff I've got to do that afternoon to get ready for the week ahead. Sundays can be really busy days. And God is saying, you know what? Sabbath is so important. I want you to understand that you need to rest even from the work of the sacred temple. Stop. Rest. Enter into a new rhythm of life. Now, it's also important to understand that Sabbath is not like how my grandmother, who grew up in the 1920s, and her dad, my great-grandfather, was a Disciples of Christ minister, and he took Sabbath very seriously. and they did nothing. My grandmother often talked about how they would sit and stare at each other for hours on end because Sabbath was a day of rest. But if you actually look at a lot of the Jewish rabbinical teaching around the time of Jesus and after, Sabbath was not supposed to be a dull, boring day, but it was a day that was supposed to be focused on renewal, focus on restoration. It was a day where you were supposed to have fun, but you were not supposed to work. And so, playing games with your family, reading a book, taking a walk in nature, all of that brings renewal and restoration, that's supposed to be done on the Sabbath. The Sabbath is supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be restful, and it's supposed to renew our souls, and it's supposed to remind us that we should have a different relationship to work and a different relationship to one another than the rest of the world does. We're not supposed to be so busy that we are exhausted, so busy that we're stressed out, so busy that we don't have any room to reflect on the deep things of God. Also, when we read about Sabbath in some of the early rabbinical literature, this one thing that stood out to me that I just can't seem to shake goes back to those initial 10 commandments, right? So keeping the Sabbath is one of the 10 commandments of God that we're supposed to do. And you may remember some of the other ones. And what the rabbis pointed out is that the 10 commandments really are two parts. The first section is about our relationship to God. Worship the Lord our God and worship only Him. Do not make any graven images or false idols. Do not take the Lord's name in vain. All of that is about our relationship with God. Then there's this other section of the commandments that are about how we relate to one another, right? Honor your parents. Do not lie. Do not steal from others. Don't covet what other people have. Do not murder. It's all about our relationships with others. And they pointed out that in the middle, the linchpin that connects that first half of how we relate to God and that second half of how we relate to one another, in the middle there is the commandment to keep Sabbath. To stop and rest and reset our life. Because you can't have right relationship with God if you don't have good relationships with your neighbors, and you can't have good relationships with your neighbors if you don't understand how to rightly relate to God. And it takes at least one day a week to pause and reflect. How am I doing in my relationship to God? Am I loving God? Am I honoring God? Am I thanking God? But also, how am I doing with my neighbors? Am I honoring them? Am I in right relationship with them? Am I loving them? Or is my life so busy, so captured by all of the good things that leave me drained and exhausting? Am I lashing out at my neighbors for going too slow in front of me at the grocery store? Am I neglecting my prayer life? Am I neglecting my relationship with God because I go to church? It's on the calendar. God says one day a week, stop. And on that day, reconnect with the God who made you, that you might love that God more fully. And then be able to go out and to love your neighbors as I have commanded you to. The Sabbath is not just about us, but it's also how God has designed the whole world to function rightly. To rest and remember that everything we have is a gift of God. And rest and remember how we are supposed to love others in light of the God who made us all. Of course, another way to think about it is in the Gospels when Jesus is asked, what commandment is the greatest commandment? Jesus says, love God with everything and love your neighbor as yourself. And in a world that is full of busyness, we can lose sight of both of those. And so God says, stop, rest, remember what I have done for you, and remember all of the people in this world. I want them to know me just as much as you do. So, right now, we're pretty close to returning to life as normal. Many of you have already started going back to work. The routines of life will come back around. At some point in the summer, baseball leagues will start back up and kids' activities will start going again. At some point in time, our church will start to gather again in person, and all of the fun activities that we do together will pile back on. And you'll be tempted to go back to normal. Because, remember what? Busy is normal. But what if you didn't? What if you didn't go back to normal? What if you kept up those evening family walks after dinner? Meaning you might have to give up some activities and some meetings and some volunteering, but you give them up so that you can walk with your family? Maybe you give up the need to always please your boss by working ahead and working overtime, because it's more important for you to be home, to eat with your spouse. Maybe you're a manager or a supervisor, and you've decided it's more important for my employees to not work themselves to death just so that I get to please my boss. And so you don't make them come in on Saturday to get ahead on this project. What if you made the decision to rest? Because I know that it's probably hard for you to give up a whole day. I'm not asking you to do that right now. I'm asking you to spend these last few weeks of this time of quarantine or isolation. Spend these last few weeks of however much time we have left to decide what of this life I'm going to take with me into a new normal. Because God made you to rest. God did not make you just to be busy. God made you to love Him and to love your neighbor. And He knows you better than you know yourself. He knows you need the rest. And after 8 weeks of living in this different rhythm, this slower pace, this less than busy normal life, maybe God's gotten your attention. And maybe it's time to say no to normal, to not rush back in to the busyness, to recapture a bit of that ancient wisdom of God, that you were made to rest because God is still God and God will still take care of you, and the work will still be there tomorrow. But there are more important things than being busy. And you were made for so much more than normal. Amen.
Be still and know that He is God. Be still and know that He is holy. Be still, O restless soul of mine. Bow before the Prince of Peace. Let the noise and clamor cease. Be still and know that He is God. Be still and know that He is faithful. Consider all that He has done. Stand in awe and be amazed. Know that He will never change. Be still. Be still and know that He is God. Be still and know that He is God. Be still and know that He is God. Be still, be still. Be still and know that He is God. Be still and know He is our Father. Come rest your head upon His chest. Listen to the rhythm of His unfailing heart of love, beating for His little ones, calling each of us to come and be still. Be still.
We want to take a moment to thank you for your continued generosity. It's because of you that our church right now is preparing to host its first ever virtual Vacation Bible Camp in June. It's because of you that right now we're equipping our worship spaces so that we can continue to stream our services even after we return to in-person gatherings. It's because of you that our mission and our ministry continues even when our methods have had to change. We want to remind you that you can give online at firstmethodistclinton.giving.org, or you can mail a check to our church office at 100 Mount Salus Drive, Clinton, Mississippi, 39056. We thank you for your generosity and your faithfulness.
And dear friends, I invite you to not only receive this benediction, but to carry this benediction with you throughout the week. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make His face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift His countenance to you and give you peace, and walk in His peace in the way that leads to life. Amen.